Hello, this is Mike at Gamefromscratch, and welcome to week 17 of This Week in Game Dev, a quick recap of what happened in the world of game development for the week ending March 13th of 2016. For every story we cover here, I will have a link down below, so if you want more information, link over to the Gamefromscratch story so you can get more details if you wish. So let's jump right in. First off, we have Blender 2.77 Release Candidate 2 was released. Now, Blender 2.76 was released quite a while back, and there's been no updating since, so this release is somewhat overdue. And so hopefully we'll see the full release any day now. There's a couple of really cool new features in here, such as Booleans directly in edit mode, auto UV creation on a new model, and the biggest features are definitely the updates to the grease pencil. Now, if you're interested in learning more, I've actually done a video jumping into what's new in that release, demoing a bunch of those features and functionality. Next up, MaxPlay engine announced some of the key partners they're going to be working with. And we've got, they'll be working with eMotion Effects, FMod Studio, Popcorn Effects, NVIDIA Effects. Now, the reality is MaxPlay is still a bit of an unknown. It's the next, hopefully, AAA game engine. We don't know about the pricing. We don't know what anything else is. But the entire idea behind MaxPlay is going to be for disparate teams to be able to work in the cloud. So it's for distributed teams making games. It's a complete game engine. It'll be interesting to see what actually comes of that when we get more details. Now, probably the biggest news of the week is the FMod launch of FMod IO. Now, FMod IO is really kind of cool. It's a massive, and I'm talking 500,000 plus sound effect library, and it's integrated into FMod. Now, FMod is probably the preeminent or the premier audio effects library for game engines. It's embedded in just about every game engine out there, or you can use it in your own. And FMod Studio is the tool you use for editing your audio assets. And the FMod IO cloud store, I guess you could call it, is integrated directly into the FMod Studio. Now, what makes this thing really cool, other than the fact that there's 500,000 plus sound effects, is the fact that they're 99 cents a piece, which is obviously a great price. So if you need sound effects for your game, this is a pretty big game changer. I actually do a video of it so you can see it in action if you're interested. I'll link this down below as well. Another update this week was RPG Maker MV 1.1 was released. To be honest, I know nothing about RPG Maker. I loaded it up once for an earlier version for my games for kids thing, learned it a little bit then. It's a system all about basically making JRPGs, but it's got programmability, and it's been used to make a number of actual ship titles, more indie Steam game type things. But it has a following. It's been around for years and years and years and years. And MV is the newest version. It actually was, or maybe still is, on sale for 30% off on Steam. And as I said, they just released version 1.1. You can see all the various fixes here. Nothing really, really huge. And I don't know the project well enough to tell you if anything here is good or not, but if you're an RPG maker, definitely pay attention to that one. Another minor release this week was Tiled 0.15.2 was released. Now, Tiled is an open source free level editor. I did a very in-depth tutorial series on Gamefromscratch and on YouTube if you're interested in it. But this particular release brings us not a whole lot unless you happen to be Turkish or Brazilian, in which case you got translations. So yay for you. Otherwise, it's basically smaller fixes and changes. Another release this week was FaceWhere released updated versions of Retargeter and Analyzer, their motion capture facial technology. It uses a GoPro rig to record the faces. They also announced that they're going to be shipping a free version. So if you're getting into motion capturing of faces, there's now a free personal learning edition available. Obviously, you can't use it for commercial use. And they also announced that they're, in addition to new releases of their software, they've also got a $340 a month rental system where you get the hardware, the software, everything you need to get started with facial mocap. So a bit niche, but should be interesting to some people. Now, another release was NVIDIA released VisionWorks and OpenVX implementation. Now, OpenVX is Kronos Group's vision computing library, so it's in the same vein as OpenAL and OpenGL, but it's for vision computing. Just last week, AMD released AMD VX. This week, it's NVIDIA's version, VisionWorks, was just released. A very small release here, as you can tell by the size, but TorquedED just had an update. Now, TorquedED is a 2D engine spun off from the Torque 3D project. It's now free and open source, I believe, but they just released a positional audio library for the 2D game engine. Another big piece of news this week is Crow Team, the makers of the Talos Project or Talos Prophecy, but most of us know them for Serious Sam. But basically, they just released the engine for Serious Sam, the full source codes for it. So that's kind of cool. Some features are stripped out, so MP3 playback and OGG playback, which I would imagine they probably actually use FMod for, so they couldn't redistribute that. But for the most part, the source code is all there. It's under GPL2 license, and GPL2 license is very limited if you're looking at this for commercial reasons, by the way. But very cool move by Crow Team. So if you're interested, they just released their engine source. It's up on GitHub. It's a Visual Studio 2013 or later project, and it's all in C++. Also, we saw releases from Unity and Unreal, our typical weekly releases, a bunch of fixes. They're both getting up. So this is Preview 7, and they were Patch 3. So we're seeing mostly fixes at this point. No new functionality from the Unreal side of things. And as you see, a couple of minor changes here for the Unity side of things. Global illumination change, Windows Store, and some launch window stuff changes. So nothing really big from either of those projects. Mostly, again, at this late in the cycle, it's mostly just about bug fixes. And finally, BDX 0.2.4 was released. Now, BDX is a cool little project. I've actually, I took a look at it on Gamefromscratch. I don't know if I did a video on YouTube, but essentially what it is, a game engine that plugs into Blender as an add-on. And it's written in libgdx. So basically you use, you can see right here, see if I did a video. You can use Blender as your game editor for your asset creation, you create your levels, etc. And you can even use some of the Blender specific functionality like physics engine, etc. So the properties you tag in Blender all get carried over to your code side, which is implemented in the 3D portion of libgdx. So if you're working in libgdx on a 3D project, or you're working in Blender and you don't want to use Blender game engine, this is definitely a project worth checking out. It's open source. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. So that's BDX, and I will actually link this guide down below. This is a tutorial I did on using BDX. See if I did a video. Okay, so there is a video as well. This is a little bit outdated in this version. It's about half of the versions ago. So it's about a year back I did this, but it's a very cool project. Definitely one of the ones you should check out. And frankly, that's about it for the world of game development this week. Now, next week should definitely be interesting because just today, I'm a day late on recording this video, and today is when GDX kicked off. GDC, and that is the Game Developer Conference. And that tends to be where a lot of products are launched. So I will be keeping a look all week and updating you on the news that comes out of the GDC. Now, on another note, a slightly more personal note, this is also the beginning of Canadian March break. So I have a little helper this week. So if my output is a little bit smaller than you normally expect for the upcoming week, that would be why. I'm hoping to get as much out as normal, but the hands of fate have got me a little tight on this one. So if things are a bit quiet around here other than news updates, I apologize, but that is the reason why. So hopefully see you next week for that week's game development news. We should have a lot because of the Game Developer Conference, and that's about it. See you later.